You're listening to Journalists on Journalism, a weekly podcast brought to you by Stanford's graduate program in journalism. For more information and upcoming speakers, visit journalism.stanford.edu.
I find it distressing that, this type of reporting that really is so entwined with the democracy and the idea that people can hold their institutions accountable and that they will know when a system has broken down and people's interests no longer are served, that this particular type of reporting seems endangered. It's hard to imagine a democracy functioning as well without it. And just as a reporter, although I didn't really set out to be an investigative reporter, those were the types of stories that I most enjoyed doing. I wrote, of course, a lot about trials and sentencings, but I was always on the lookout for something a little more enterprising. And one day when I was watching a sentencing, the lawyer said to the judge, "Your Honor, my client was gang raped in the county jail." And the client was only, maybe 17, 18 years old, a young man. And looking at him, I felt a chill thinking of what he had gone through. And so afterwards I went up and I asked the judge, "Judge, for me, how often do you hear about men getting raped in the jail?" And he said, "Oh, it happens all the time." I still rely on sort of my own moral sense of when somebody tells me that something is normal that really I find troubling. I listen and I watch and I always wonder if there is, some important story there. I was in China again in a factory, and I saw that people were making American furniture with very flimsy hospital masks and using a spray of paint that made my throat clog, and I was unable to really swallow and my eyes burned, and I suspected strongly that they were using benzene and toluene in that paint, but they were not protected from it. So, once again, the alarm bells go off, and I think, wait a minute, this is going to America. What happened to, corporate social responsibility? So I called up my hometown paper, the Salt Lake Tribune, and explained to the then managing editor, Tom Baden, what had happened. And he said, well, he didn't make any commitment, but he said, send us the series and we'll think about it. And so they read it, and then within some days, actually, he got back to me and said that they would publish it. And it's, in effect, the reverse of the American Imports Chinese Death series. This time I'm using the import documents to go from the food that you wouldn't want to eat to the United States, where it is going to big-time corporations and onto our dinner plates. And so I'm doing the document. It's kind of a documentation in reverse. This is one of the latest models where, it's the nonprofits that are funding investigative journalism. But I think the system needs some tweaking. It would be much better if a reporter could, say, have some type of a fellowship or something to sustain him or her for, say, an academic year.
You've been listening to Journalists on Journalism. Find more speakers at journalism.stanford.edu.